Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week's 10 days. For today's video, that's going to take us to around the 23rd of January. We'll be able to extend out beyond that for the extended GFS and ECM ensembles running to around a couple of weeks. That gets us to late January. We can't show you the CFS today. For some reason, the CFS website has been down all day. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm sure it'll come back up later today. But it's been down through most of the morning, so we can't show you the CFS. We'll show the Beijing Climate Centre at the end of the video for the next 40 days. There's always an alternative with these longer range charts. The first thing I want to show you, though, is that I've been working on this for a few days at the Gavs Weather's YouTube channel. So I've created a playlist for all of our historical weather videos that we've recorded on most bank holiday Mondays and on Christmas Day, that sort of thing, since 2014 when we began the Gavs Weather Vids YouTube channel. So I'll just talk you through that very quickly. We're on the homepage of the Gavs Weather Vids YouTube channel. And to access the playlist, all you need to do is go to this tab just here, playlist. You click that. That will take you through to this page where all playlists are listed. There's the playlist for historic weather videos 2014 to present, 2020. You click view full playlist. And that will take you to the full list of historical weather videos that were recorded on the channel since we began it in March 2014. So you just scroll down and pick whichever one you want, all the way down to the very bottom. Which the very first one we uploaded to this channel, the historic video we uploaded, was Winter 2012-2013 Review. I think that was one of the first videos we uploaded to the channel, actually, in March 2014. Now, of course, there was a couple of years where we recorded weather videos on the old YouTube channel as well. So just take you over to there, because I've done the same thing on the Gavin Partridge channel. So it's the same idea. You just access the playlist tab, go to the playlist page, and click View Full Playlist. There we go, and that takes you to a list of historical weather videos that we've recorded on this channel between 2012 and 2014. Remember, we shifted over to the Gavs Weather's YouTube channel in March 2014 to tie in with the website, gavsweathers.com. So really quite simple to access both playlists. The description to both, the links to both playlists are in the description at YouTube. Should be pretty easy now for everybody to get hold of those historical weather videos. There's also the page at gavsweathers.com, of course, where you can again access all of the embedded videos to the website. So this is the page at Gavs Weathers, where you can find links to every single historical weather video that we've recorded over the two channels that are all embedded onto gavsweathers.com. And you access that through the home page at Gavs Weathers. So they just click home and take you here, scroll down through the home page, come to this section. Also at Gavs Weathers, there's the button there that has the historic weather videos. Click here to access our archive of historical weather videos. So you click that, and then it takes you to this page. As I say, that's where we've got all of the historic weather videos from the two channels embedded to Gavs Weathers. So it's quite simple now to be able to access the historic weather videos at both Gavs Weathers and also on the two YouTube channels as well. Some people have asked me about whether there's a playlist for all of the historical weather videos, and it's something I haven't ever got round to doing, but over the past couple of days I've been I've set to and I've sorted it out. So they should be very easy now to access these historic weather videos. I may do a couple more playlists as well in the coming months. I might do one that contains all of the videos that we did during the Beast from the East. Maybe a few people would like to have a look back on those at some point in the future. But that may take me a month or two to get back together. Anyway, I thought we'd start off the video with that. So now very easy to access the historic weather videos at both Gavs Weathers and also at YouTube. Right, let's get on with the video. I'm going to start off with what's happening today. Storm Brendan, of course, is a big talking point of the weather today. So this is the radar picture at Gav's weather vision. You can see a huge massive rain sitting in the Irish Sea and moving on to the western side of Scotland, England and Wales as we speak. Some very intense rain in with that, some vibrant colours indeed. That's the weather front that is associated with Storm Brendan. Some showers breaking out ahead of it through parts of the Midlands. Many east areas have been dry through the morning, but this rain will spread or sweep very quickly across the country. And of course, not only rain, but the main talking point with this system is going to be the wind. So this is the wind gust forecast from the Arpège model at the weather outlook starting at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So you can see with that rain it's already very windy up the Irish Sea. We've got gusts of wind up to 70 miles an hour. We may get 80 mile an hour gusts somewhere around the Atlantic or Irish Sea coast. Certainly enough to produce disruption on that west side. No, even on the east it's pretty breezy with gusts of wind already at around 30 or 40 miles an hour. Now through the course of this afternoon you see how those high winds with that heavy rain sweeps across the country. So this is 7 o'clock this evening, and it's windiest then through the central and east areas, and still gusts going up to 50 or 60 miles an hour quite widely across central and east of Britain. That's very windy for inland. And out to the northwest of Scotland, we're sort of going very close to 80, 90 mile an hour gusts just here. So a rough old afternoon to come. It stays windy into the night, but the winds do ease down. I mean, tomorrow we have another battering, particularly this time across England and Wales as a secondary low sweeps in. And that again bring gusts of wind up to 60, 70 miles an hour, perhaps around some of these southern, southwestern coasts. Inland, 40, 50, 60 mile an hour gusts widely across England and Wales. You notice there's a very well-defined line there from the windy weather to much calmer weather that's across Scotland. That's on the northern side of the low pressure. We call that a triple point low. And on that sort of boundary just there could be some heavy snow actually tomorrow through parts of northern England if it gets far enough north to southern Scotland, particularly over high ground, but could be a few flakes coming down to lower level there across the northern parts of the country. Wednesday will be a very windy day up in the north. The worst winds east across England and Wales on Wednesday. Still a bit breezy, but nowhere near as windy as today and tomorrow will be. But Scotland and also Northern Ireland staying very windy into Wednesday as well. Things finally then begin to calm down as we get through to the end of Wednesday. But it's looks like it's going to be pretty windy again up the Irish Sea on Wednesday night and into Thursday. So we are into a very active and quite stormy spell of weather. All this, of course, is generating weather warnings and weather watches. So this is the severe weather warnings page at the UK Met Office. If you're at all worried about Storm Brendan and your safety, you're concerned about maybe you have to travel and you're concerned about staying safe, then this is the place to go. We're going to leave the link to the severe weather warnings page in the description at YouTube with the video. We link to it on Gav's Weather These Links page as well at the website. So this is always a place to go if you're concerned about your safety and you need advice and you need to know what's going on in terms of being able to stay safe. We don't issue severe weather warnings at Gav's Weather. It's the only people that are qualified to issue severe weather warnings and advise you about staying safe and being safe in the weather are the UK Met Office. They are the only people that are qualified to do that. You may be aware that even the BBC don't use the UK Met Office for their data, but for when there's severe weather warnings, those weather warnings are still coming from the UK Met Office. They are the only resource to go to if you need advice about your safety. So wind warnings in force across much of western, southwestern Britain today. If I click on those, you'll be able to see a little bit more in depth. So it's sort of north and east of Scotland, western Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, southwest Scotland down to north Wales and west and southwest parts of Wales and in southwest of England. Very windy conditions. The warning is a yellow warning. Widely very windy period is expected Monday with some disruption to travel likely. Goes all over what you should do, so what to expect and what you should do to stay safe in the storm and all that sort of thing, how weather impacts on rail travel. So there's lots of very interesting stuff to read there. There's also warnings in force for Tuesday, so there's a snow and ice warning in force for Scotland on Tuesday, another wind and also rain warning in force for parts of England and Wales, widely a wind warning for England and Wales, rain for this far southeastern and southern part of the country during Tuesday. And then still a rain warning for southern England on Wednesday. So lots and lots going on over the next couple of days. It's going to be a really, really active period of weather. But then once this is all gone through, by the end of the week, we are potentially looking at a much calmer spell of weather. So finally, we could be seeing an end to this unsettled weather. Of course, we did get a bit of a break over Christmas and New Year, but we've very quickly gone back into the unsettled conditions. But we could be seeing high pressure coming back. So moving on to the outlook then. This is the 500 millibar high anomaly flow chart from the Penn State University, via the Penn State University for the ECM WF. Got the for next week, 10 days. Got the ECM on the top and the GFS is on the bottom. Have a look around in a moment. So 500 millibars is an area in the absolute high pressure and low pressure being moved around by the jet stream. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. This takes us to around the 23rd of January, and you can see that the ECM is doing something that we haven't done much of through this winter. It's placing a big area of above average heights, high pressure, right over top of the UK and Western Europe, with below average heights down across Spain and Portugal. That could potentially bring some much needed rainfall down across Iberia. That could be really good news for them, as long as it doesn't produce flooding. But for us, we're going under high pressure by the look of that, something that we haven't done all that much during this winter. Of course, as I say, we did get a brief interlude over Christmas and New Year where it turned drier. So we're still on the mild side of the jet stream, but I think under this ridge of high pressure may actually be quite cold. We could have an increasing risk of overnight frost. Again, that is something that we've had very little of during this winter. Even the drier period around Christmas New Year did not produce much in the way of frost. Generally, it's a very cloudy high. This could be a clearer high, so more in the way of sunny days, but nights could be quite cold, and we may get some freezing fog perhaps as well. That's how the ECM looks. GFS, though, is very similar in comparison, so they are both shifted towards this much more anticyclonic outlook, with high pressure again centred over top of the country. Jet streams doing something like that. A much, much drier, but also potentially rather colder outlook in around these sort of days 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 time frame. Going to take a little while to get out of this very unsettled story, where it won't be until around the weekend that we finally start to build up a ridge of high pressure. There is still a little bit of uncertainty about how strongly this ridge builds, but certainly overnight the GFS and the ECM are sort of coming to line with this idea of high pressure being quite influential from the weekend and through next week. We can see this on the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles as well for the next couple of weeks. So the red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average. Up and down for the time being. This is for London. Up and down, warmer and cooler and warmer and cooler and warmer sectors alternating until the end of the week. That's a continuation of the unsettled zonal period. Then from the weekend onwards, we go cooler than average quite definitively, and we stay quite cool then until around the start of the last week of January. That's this period just here, the final week of January, just there, where the temperatures then start to attempt to stage a recovery as well. But I think it's clear to see the drier trend that's coming. So again, for the next few days, unsettled. There will be bouts of rain coming through. So just continuing unsettled until the end of the week, and relatively mild with zonality dominating. But from the weekend, there's the drying trend from around Friday, Saturday through weekend and into next week, going much drier. The precipitation spikes do begin to come back again through the last week of January. It's a long way off, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. If high pressure builds in strongly, it will probably be a little bit more stubborn in breaking down than the model expects it will be. very often the models can be a bit progressive in breaking down high pressure. So we'll just have to wait and see how long the high pressure sticks around once it builds in, if, of course, it builds in, because this is still all just a forecast. Temperature anomalies from the 13th to the 21st of January, still a little bit above average. I've got plenty of mild weather still to go. These may start turning a little bit colder, though, in the coming days. Be interesting to see how they're looking by the end of this week. Precipitation anomalies from the 13th to 21st of January, overall near normal. These may start to trend drier over the next few days. And again, we'll be interested to see how these are looking in comparison to today's chart at the end of the week. So this is the GFS 6 o'clock run, still unsettled for Thursday, starting on Thursday, and still unsettled. Low pressure is out to west country, probably another bout of rain spreading through the country on Thursday. That becomes quite a major feature to the northwest of Scotland by Friday. Very tight bars, bringing another battering of gales to Scotland and Northern Ireland as we go into Friday morning. But once that low gets out of the way, then we start to build up this ridge. This is Saturday, 18th of January. A little bit of a ridge beginning to build out to our west-southwest. That becomes quite a significant area of high pressure by Sunday, such 1,040 millibars just to our southwest. There is milder air trying to come in around the top of this high pressure, so the position of the ridge are going to be critical. So this is how things look in a week's time, Monday the 20th. So for the far north and west of Scotland, and possibly for Northern Ireland, we are bringing in milder southwesterlies and probably quite a lot of cloud. However, most parts of the country are still centred under the high pressure. The high pressure is still centering over most parts of the country. And so that's going to be mainly dry, but potentially quite cold with overnight frost. That high pressure then sticks around through to the middle of next week. This is Wednesday, 22nd of January, still dominated by high pressure then. And up to day 10, the high is still in control on this particular GFS run. This is Thursday, 23rd of January. We're under the ridge. I mean, it's not going to be particularly exciting weather. There's not going to be very much in the way of snow around at all. There won't be any snow with this region of high pressure, I wouldn't have thought. But it's just a bit of a significant change on what we've had through this winter so far, and it will have a more seasonable feel if this is right. There will be quite significant overnight frost, and over time we may start to have more freezing fog developing with that ridge too. But GFS does break the ridge down as we get beyond day 10. So this is Saturday, 25th of January. We go back into the westerlies then, becoming milder and more unsettled. For a time anyway. But we finish up looking like that. This is Wednesday, 29th of January. As far as we can go, low pressure is moving into Scandinavia. And we're pulling down some cold air from the north, this time with more low pressure in the Atlantic, and have a go at displacing that cold air. That's quite an interesting chart. The upper air temperature show that cold air is through the country. So as these low pressure bump into that cold air, try to push it away. Of course, that's the kind of thing that can deliver a little bit of snow. But this is over 2 weeks away, so all in the realm of speculation. I would anticipate that the model probably beyond day 10 breaks that high pressure down a little bit too quickly, but as I say, it's all in the realm of speculation really. GM looks like that. So again, mild and unsettled as we end this working week. Into the weekend though, the high pressure builds in from the Atlantic, turns it most dry, quite cold, winds coming in from the north around the top of this high pressure, so it will be cold as the ridge builds in. And then the ridge builds very strongly by the early part of next week. Again, Monday 20th of January, we're under this area of high pressure. That will deliver frost, potentially some freezing fog as well. We can, if this is right, we can forget any idea of the all-time January CT record going as well. By the way, there will be too many frosty nights for that to happen. And then we run up towards day 10 and we keep this high pressure very close to us. By day 10 itself, the GM is starting to break it down and return us back to a milder westerly. But we get at least 4, 5, maybe 6 cold nights there with frost potential. As I say, that would completely scupper any idea of breaking that 1916 mildest January CT record. And then the ECM looks like that. So once again, we find that Thursday is quite unsettled, bad unsettled weather lasting to Friday as well. But over the weekend, this is when the change takes place. Over the weekend, this ridge of high pressure builds in from the Atlantic, turns things much drier over the weekend and into next week. Quite cold under that high pressure again though, so definite risk of overnight frost, and these frosty nights continue under this area of high pressure into the middle of next week. Could be some freezing fog with that as well. Even up to day 10, the ECM has that ridge quite strong. It isn't breaking it down at day 10, which is Thursday the 23rd of January. That's more like what I'd expect to happen, really. It does take a little while for these ridges of high pressure to break down. So I would expect probably it takes a bit longer than the GFS and particularly the GEM are showing in terms of breaking this ridge down. So up to day 10, that's mostly dry, but also quite cold and potentially quite frosty at night. So we could be in for some frosty nights from the weekend and through to next week. These are the options that are on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which is the 23rd of January. So we have 14 members of the ECM ensembles with above average heights, more or less centred over country, a little bit to our west. Jet streams up there. We're on the mild side of the jet, but under the ridge it's going to be quite cold if that's right. 12 have the high pressure, centred a little bit to the north of Scotland. Just a bit more of an easterly feed with those. Still the basic same idea. And there will be a risk of frosty nights with those. 11, including the operational run, that's the run we were just talking about, and the control, have the high pressure still centred over top of the country at day 10, so that could be mostly dry and quite cold too. 8 have the high pressure just a little bit out towards the west northwest. Wouldn't thought it makes all that much difference. Again, mostly dry with that. Quite cold nights, a little bit of an east, a little bit more of an easterly flow down in the south perhaps. And then 6 have the high pressure centred over and just to the west of the country. There might be a bit more of an Atlantic influence coming in with those 6, slightly milder perhaps, and maybe a little bit cloudy as well. But it's just very subtle differences in the placement of that high pressure. I think the overall theme is definitely for high pressure to be dominating around day 10, and that's quite a cold high as well, unlike the one we had over Christmas and New Year. And then we go through to 2 weeks' time. These are the options that we've got on the table then. This is the 28th of January, so it looks like a bit of a change comes through as we get into the last week of January. We have 22 members of the ECM ensembles that are returning us back to more of a westerly type flow, so definitely breaking the ridge down. It's not desperately unsettled with those 22, but definite hints of a breakdown of a ridge of high pressure. 16 just here look very unsettled with a deep trough of low pressure to our east, a mid-Atlantic ridge as well, so they're quite cold and unsettled. Dare I say it, there could be a little bit of wintry potential with those. And then 13 continue the high pressure fest. They have a high pressure building from the east to the west, so just stretching really from the Atlantic, from Canada, all the way over to Europe. Low pressure is up here. They're going to be the most settled, driest option, and potentially still quite cold by night. Definite changes ahead as we get to the weekend and into next week on today's model output. Finally, the Beijing Climate Centre, as I say, can't show you the CFS because it's been down all morning. Hopefully it'll be coming back up soon. But Beijing Climate Centre looks like this. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period takes us from the 16th to the 25th of January. The coming 10 days has this area of above average heights, high pressure building up from the south. Low pressure becomes stuck out to the northwest. It's settling down, it's turning drier, but as we've already explained, there could be some frosty nights under that area of high pressure. The next 10-day period is the 26th of January to the 4th of February, with above average heights then over the country and to our east. So a lot of dry settled weather with that. Could be quite cold again as we end January then start of February with the risk of overnight frost. Again, nothing particularly wintry, very little doing here from a snow perspective, but just a more seasonable feel and some cold, frosty nights to come perhaps later through the latter part of January and into the beginning of February. By the next 10-day period, though, we go milder. This is the 5th to the 14th of February. The high pressure event begins to slip southwards towards Spain. Low pressure reinvigorates with the jet stream to our north. We're returning back to westerlies. So that's probably getting more unsettled, particularly for the north and west, and turning milder. Frost risk reducing. And then the last 10-day period is the 15th to the 24th of February. The high pressure event is weakening. Low pressure is deepening to the north and the west. So again, we're back into westerlies and probably turning increasingly unsettled. But it would be quite mild and maybe even a little bit spring-like. So, changes ahead. We've got very stormy weather from Brendan, and tomorrow's low may get named as well. Not sure if it will or not, but certainly very unsettled time, stormy weather for the next day or two. These unsettled conditions continue up to the end of this week around Friday. Still be unsettled then. Over the weekend, maximum high pressure starts to make its move, so that by this time next week we could well be under an area of high pressure, bringing much drier, calmer, but also colder conditions with an increasing risk of overnight frost. And then that could last at least for a few nights, days and nights through the early and middle part of next week. How long that ridge lasts, as we've already explained, is open to quite a bit of uncertainty. How quickly it will take to break down the ridge, but certainly for a while anyway, a little bit more of a seasonable feel coming up from the weekend into next week. Right, tomorrow I have another week 10-day video update, and we'll also have the ECMWF 30-day look ahead for the UK and the rest of Europe as well, so come back for that then. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.